the January jobs report came in, and it came in seasonally adjusted 143,000 jobs added, non-farm payrolls. That was less than what was expected. We also have to deal with immigration and some new counts that have been coming in for the household survey and such. How do we digest all of this? Cory Stahle's with us, economist at Indeed. Lisa Flicker, Senior Managing Partner, Head of Real Estate at Jackson Lucas. Thank you both for being with us. So generally, the feeling that I'm getting from most of the guests and people I speak to is that we have a relatively tight labor market. Things are, in fact, looking pretty good. The quit rate is staying the same, right around that 2% or so. So not too bad at all. Lisa, what stands out to you, your initial reaction, or when you're looking at the JOLTS, the ADP, the household survey, and Bureau of Labor Statistics? Some of your thoughts.
Well, thanks, Nicole, for having me back. It's good to be home in New York. I'm coming off a week in D.C. with a bunch of the real estate policymakers, and then in L.A. for the lodging conference. So I'm primed and ready to have this conversation. I wasn't surprised to see a softening of the labor market in today's jobs report, because it reflects a lot of what we're seeing here at Jackson Lucas, which is uncertainty. And I think that from immigration to tariffs to interest rates, and we can kind of dive in a little bit deeper, the uncertainty is definitely shifting the labor market and what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and the prior jobs revised up to 307,000. So my question to you here, Cory, your interpretation, I mean, you're an economist, you have to try and figure out all the immigration numbers. It's my understanding from the household survey, 3 million people or so, over 2 million of those are actually in the workforce. How do you interpret it all?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Nicole. I think the way that we interpret this is, especially we look today, we had all the different revisions, right? And the purpose of these revisions were really to try to align these kind of high frequency job numbers with some of the other data we've seen from the Census Bureau. So these revisions really captured a lot of the immigration that we've had in the last couple of years that were not being captured prior to these revisions. And so as we look at what that means for this overall jobs report, at the top level, this was kind of like a fresh set of paint, right? If we think of the labor market as a house, it was kind of a fresh set of paint. Maybe some things were moved around, remodeled within the house. But I think that the overall foundation that the house is on hasn't necessarily changed. We're still in a solid labor market where layoffs are low, the unemployment rate is low, and we're seeing that by and large, the labor market is producing opportunities for many workers.
And I think about what we saw with wage growth. I mean, that was somewhat inflationary. I mean, you're seeing people making some more money than what people anticipated. That might be good for the real estate market. Lisa, how are you and your team talking about this?
Yeah, it's absolutely good for certain folks in the industry. And I think looking at the folks that are hiring me and calling in to discuss hiring senior level positions, construction, property management, skilled trades, the immigration policy, the stricter policies are making it harder for them to get workers. So that leads to more competition for those workers, which leads to the employees having a little bit more power when it comes to compensation. And so we're seeing that across the board.
And we are in a market that a good economy. Joe Brusalis was a very good economy. Joe Brusalis from RSM said that today. Talked about the tight job market that we have. In fact, I noted to him that it's become harder to find a job, Cory, because of the situation that we are in. Tell me about that picture.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an interesting picture, right? Because we look at these numbers and we talk about this top level, the economy's good. There's a lot of openings open. There are opportunities for people in the labor market. And yet we're also hearing on the other side that there are people who are saying, hey, I can't find a job. I'm struggling to find a job. It's taking me longer to find a job. And I think part of the way that we can reconcile those two stories is based on what some of the data we've seen on our platform on Indeed is we see that right now we're really in a bifurcated labor market where a lot of the opportunities, yes, there are many opportunities out there. We see that healthcare continues to add jobs at a steady clip. Today's revisions actually showed that healthcare gains were even stronger than we thought last year. And so we see healthcare continues to add. A lot of in-person jobs continue to hire, Where on the other side of things, we're seeing that kind of tech workers, software development jobs, mathematics, and like marketing type roles, more of these like remote roles, kind of traditional white collar roles, there's less demand for those workers. So again, overall, on average, the labor market is really solid. But when we kind of break things out by the type of work being done, right now, your experience with the labor market as a job seeker is going to depend largely on the type of work that it is that you're doing.
Right. Healthcare and social assistance, retail, government, financial activities, construction saw gains, while less so was professional and business services, mining and lodging, and even leisure and hospitality pulled back. That was down about 3,000 jobs. So those sectors did not do as well. Just quickly, Lisa, how do you feel about the real estate market for 2025? Is it going to be a good spring selling season, a lot of movement, or not so much?
It feels like we're headed for a good season, especially, I think there's a bifurcation between asset classes in real estate. So when you look at rentals, which are affected by interest rates and tariffs and immigration, all these different things, the real estate industry doesn't just happen in a vacuum. Policy really drives that payroll. And so the decisions that we're seeing being made in real time are going to shape what's happening. But I will tell you, and just end with this, that just like for the Super Bowl, you want a team with a great coach and a strong playbook. Real estate firms are bringing in senior leaders and policymakers who could help adjust in real time as these decisions are being made on the ground. So I think you'll see the same. You'll see industrial and multifamily being very hot soon and now.
Lisa Flicker of Jackson Lucas, Cory Stahle of Indeed. Thank you both so very much.